Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lifestyle with Dr. Moby. I'm Dr. Moby, and today we have a blessed 24th December, and we will welcome on this day Priscilla. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you? Happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all our listeners all over the world. And stay safe and enjoy the best time. So tell us, how this Christmas or these holidays are different with COVID.
Oh, very different. So everything now is through media.
Mhm.
I'm actually spending the holidays by myself. My spouse is actually visiting family and friends. So actually in Atlanta. So the holidays are gonna be a little different, but that's okay. I'll be with the Paul children and staying safe at home.
Okay, great. So let's hear from her. She is very accomplished author, and she's also military spouse. So the will I already told her, I'm big on that checking. There are a lot of things they like to share, and a lot of people don't know, but it is actually very important aspect. Other thing is she's of course a great therapist by profession. So let's hear from her detail of her accomplishments. So let's tell us about your journey.
Perfect. My name is Priscilla Agosto-Jernigan. I am married to an amazing military woman. We've been married almost 3 years.
Mhm.
We have no kids, but we have two amazing Paul Yorkies, which are my entire life. I am also a registered psychotherapist for substance abuse. I've been working in my field for 8 years. We
Mhm.
just moved to Colorado maybe about 2 years ago. So that's where my certification is at. I'm also working on my LPC, on my license,
Mhm.
to become a licensed professional counselor in the state of Colorado. Um, and I just recently wrote a book on November 26th, I want to say. It's called The Anonymous Soul. And it just pretty much just speaks about everything. I feel like everything that everyone struggles to talk about, whether it's discrimination, sexual abuse, bullying, grief, and loss. So I really wanted to do a memoir of my story as well as to spread awareness and let people know that these are real things that are going on in people's life.
Mhm.
But how do we handle that?
Yeah.
What is the outcome? What does it look like?
Mhm.
Um, I've been writing for 10 years. So it took me a very long time to write this book.
Mhm.
And I think it was mostly because of fear and rejection.
Mhm.
Um, and really trying to say, okay, am I ready? But when are we ever going to be ready to do anything?
Mhm.
So I have a really strong spirituality.
Mhm.
So I believe in a higher power. And I literally had to just really just fall on my knees and just say, okay, when is it time? And it just came to me and I said, okay,
Mhm.
published and done.
Okay, yeah, no, no, and it is very fascinating that a lot of people who are actually dealing with, a lot of clients, and they kind of write a book about that or express that, and that is to me, when I wrote a book, to me was a journey, and then when you start writing, actually, you realize how much you have covered or
Right.
in your whatever you have achieved in that topic or you want to say maybe like you're talking about discrimination and some of those. I'm sure you must have realized how many clients I've seen and how prevalent is that, and how so such a nice intricate intricacies which we kind of ignore, right?
Hmm. I agree.
So
I
tell
agree.
me a little bit about what did you have in the book to share? Some of
So
them.
pretty much I spoke about, and I think because I work under substance abuse, I think it was
Mhm.
so important to start in the interim of my family addiction
Mhm.
with my mom and my father.
Mm-hmm.
and being raised and being born as what they would call in the 80s the crack baby, the crack pandemic. And then feeling there, trying to figure out, okay, what happens to me now, and being adopted by my grandmother, who my book is also, um, that's really who I give recognition to, is my grandmother and my stepdad.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it wasn't for them, I really don't know where I'll be today.
Mm-hmm.
And for my grandmother to be able to take that responsibility and say, you know what, I'm going to raise her as mine, and I'm going to make sure that she goes to school and she does all the right things. And I think that in itself was a blessing, even though I feel like majority of the time, yeah, we're in a good household, but we still struggle with our own self identity, and I struggle with that for so many years. And I was also raised in a Catholic family, so the struggle there, I say, was real, because I'm also Puerto Rican and Black, and that was a huge thing. We stayed within our same culture, we date the same culture, and and that was just difficult, and it was hard, and just trying to figure out, okay, is this gonna work? And then I feel like as a child being bullied, I was bullied my entire life. So, and that was difficult. So even adding to that, it was a lot, and trying to find out. And that's why my title says, who am I? Who are we as individuals? Are we true to self? Are we being our authentic self? And that's the importance. That is what's so important. Are we being true to ourselves?
Hmm. And I think you bring a great point of several of them actually, and one is the bullying. So in a lot of people, first of all, of it can be of the same color or same origin, and they can still be bullied. So so example would be somebody, like if they are not huge person or they are huge person, that either will be right.
Right.
I think there are no criterias actually, right? People
Right.
can bully anyone for anything.
Exactly.
I think it's the mindset, right?
I agree. And I feel like it really doesn't, because a lot of times people say, well, maybe it comes from the household, maybe it doesn't. And I'm like, we don't know where it stems from. You can come from a good household, doesn't mean that your child won't
Yeah.
be a bully, So there's more to that. There's clearly that they're struggling with something, they're struggling with their own identity. But as a child, how are we supposed to know that? We just think, oh, they're being mean to me, and why me, and why me, you
Yeah.
know? Right. And we don't understand that it's really their own struggle.
Mm,
And I think that's where it's not where we fall short. Is we're children, we're kids.
mm,
And I think our parents or whoever we were raised by, they try to explain it to the best of their ability,
mhm.
but it's a process. It's just a process.
It's just process. And so I used to also at one point think that there could be some markers and some things, but actually, like you said, you can't actually tell, because I think it's the mindset. Somebody can be, even being bullied, and they themselves later on be part of that clan. They
Right.
can start bullying others, right?
Right.
So there is, but main thing is to realize, to educate, and tell, you have to stop, and then this is wrong, this is not,
Right.
this is not the right way to treat someone. Whichever age, whatever age they are.
Mhm.
I remember, when we were in med school too. They would do a lot of bullying when you start freshman, right?
Right.
But that's wrong. There's nothing,
Absolutely.
there's no reason to do that. you know you can show your love or affection other ways, not by bullying.
I agree. I agree. And I always say, being empathetic goes such a long way,
Yeah.
and I just feel like being raised in New York, I had to be this. In New York, it's such a fast paced life, so you're going to fall out, or you're going to fall in or fall out, so you have to just roll with the punches, and when I was able to move to the South, it was a lot quieter and a lot different, so I was able to find that, I guess, that healthy balance,
Mm,
and to say, oh, okay, well, not everybody's the same. Not everybody is like this or one way, So I think and I feel that being empathetic goes such a long way. Just
mm,
to say, how you doing today? Or
yeah.
hello. That
Mhm,
goes such a long way because you never know what lives you touch. And that was the purpose
mhm.
of doing podcasts and writing is we don't know what lives we can touch. Someone hears our story and says, oh my God, that's my story. Gosh, somebody had the courage to come out and speak about it,
Mm,
and that's what keeps me pushing.
mm. And that is such a great point. Another one is that everybody who's listening, listen to Priscilla and me, and especially her. Which is true. You know, uh, you can always come and share your thoughts, and but it takes first of all a lot of courage to do that, and to acknowledge that something is wrong, and then most people will ignore it, and then but it doesn't go away, then you just keep try to ignore again and again. But actually have some courage and say no, it is wrong and you should not be doing. Okay. And then the other advice is the one, it's very painful, of course, somebody who goes through or on the other side, but also important is that we get therapy for that. So that's
Mhm.
where Priscilla helps, right? So
That's
you
right.
see, but we need to get therapy, go to therapist, seek counselor. And so tell us about your work as a therapist, some of the important cases which you see and which people can get benefit.
Right. Absolutely. I work with mainly clients who are on probation, parole, or DHS, which DHS is pretty much that the family or the mom or the dad doesn't have any custody to their children due to their substance abuse.
Mhm.
So my goal is to make sure that they talk about it, like what's going on. A lot of people, and this is the struggle with addiction. A lot of people say it's a choice, and I struggle with that because I'm just like, no one chooses to be an addict. I've never heard in my 8 years, I'm sure you've never heard that anyone has just said, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be an addict. So I think there is the education, and that's so important, is to educate the clients, but not only the clients, the family,
Mhm.
because I always feel that when it comes to addiction, it's a domino effect. It doesn't just affect the client, it affects everyone else. So to make sure that, of course, my focus is my client, but to just allow them to be themselves.
Mhm.
I have a lot of clients who are gang related. They have so many different cases, legal cases, and really all they want to do is just be loved and be heard.
Yeah.
And I teach them, look, there's a difference between being passive, being aggressive, but we can be assertive. Just because we use for X amount of time and we're working on these things doesn't mean we're a bad person. I always say we're not bad people, we just made some bad choices. So
Yeah.
what are we doing to rectify these choices? And I have a caseload of 30, you know, and I was fortunate to spend some time with them today. A lot of people are like, "Oh, you should have took off today," and I'm like, "No." I'm like, somebody. We always need someone. So there's gonna be somebody that is unable to spend time with their family. So if this is the only face that they can remember right now, and it's familiar and it's comfortable, guess what? I'm gonna do it.
and and that is another very important topic is that holidays. So in holidays, as you said, being in medical profession and yourself with therapy, we are 24/7 work. It's like,
Mhm.
we are like non-stop. I mean, diseases and illnesses and those, they don't obey the holidays. Actually, they get worse on the holidays.
They really do. You
Mm.
are absolutely
So,
right.
so they get, I was working at the hospital last night, and it was the worst call in terms of everybody said, because the reason is people need on holidays. They think things they will ignore, but actually they get worse. Especially your counseling, I'm sure your client feel more lonely on holidays
Mhm.
because, and now with COVID, of course, there's a lot of stress. I mean,
Absolutely, because they're isolated. They're to themselves. I had a client today that told me, "Ah, Miss Priscilla, it just felt good just to see your face." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I haven't seen my family in 4 years. Um, so to see a familiar face and to know that I'm not alone, that's just important. Just to talk and vent and process about everything and anything and not be judged." And I think that's what's important. I always encourage therapy, but to make sure that you find a therapist that fits you. Not that you're just in therapy and you don't even find a connection with your therapist, because it won't work, because you will not open up, you will not process. So being able to say, hey, if I always tell my clients, if it doesn't work, please let me know, because in the end of the day, this is to save your life.
mm.
So if I'm not the best fit, I have some recommendations of who may or may not. You know, um, Thankfully, my clients are like, yes, we're staying with you. Don't leave. So I'm very, very blessed.
And
That
I would say, there will always will be some cases which might
right,
not like you, me, or, and that's normal. I mean, we don't take it personal. Nobody
absolutely
will never have 100% success or never. I mean, I'm very fortunate if we have only like once a while, those. But it's good to have those because then it teaches you what you may. I mean, many times I listen to what they have to say and why they don't like me or
right.
something they don't like, and there could be anger element, sure, but there is some probably reality to what they
Hmm.
felt was inadequate, and maybe it helps us to grow, right?
Absolutely.
And so we don't
Absolutely.
take personally at all. That's true. And I think you have a really a golden words is that they about addiction is that they have bad choices. They're not bad person. And that's I was well you were talking. I was thinking. Look at a lot of these demographics. If you look at those addiction, they have everything. They have everything in terms of. I mean, they could be very well financially.
Hmm.
They could be a famous personality, and
Right.
they would be unfortunately still indulge in addiction. Okay.
Right.
And that is so. What does it tell? It tells us very important thing that it is not as a physical thing. Later on maybe can be, but for finances maybe whatever. But mostly it is a psychological. There is unmet need, right? That they
Right.
could be a very famous, right?
Hmm.
Most of them could be a celebrity and they
Hmm.
commit suicide or being on
Hmm.
drugs, and then so that is what. So basic thing is your soul or your uh, you know s- basically feeling at ease with your thoughts and inner confidence, as so that is important. That's I think the problem is with a lot of addiction, right?
Right. And I would say addiction don't discriminate. It don't care who we are, what
Mm.
color we are, what race we are, what's our sexual orientation. It does not care. So you're
Mm.
absolutely right.
Yeah. And so but what I have seen is there is definitely how the healthcare or how things are arranged for minorities or
Hmm.
there is a lag. So a lot of people, for some reason, they're not for minorities they are not getting as much healthcare, and also who are not financially well off.
Right.
That
And
includes all the races.
I agree. And the stigma that comes behind it. And I think that's why I love what I do, because I'm an advocate. I can advocate for my client, where my client will might feel angry, or might feel discouraged and say, well, they just look at me because I do drugs and that's all they see. And I'm like, no, there's more to you than just using drugs. You are a mom, you are a dad, you are this, you are that. And because a lot of people lack the education, a lot of people just see people for, oh, well, they use drugs and that's it. And it's like, okay, this person is just still a person, where they're not numbers, they're still a person. So if
Mhm.
they're right and they have their rights and they want their children and they're staying sober and they're utilizing their tools, what else do you want? You
mm,
know, they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's different if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you
mm,
know, and being that so I advocate. I think I have about like 10 staffings in a month just to advocate for my client, because I don't want my client to feel like, oh, they're just looking at me like another number or
mm,
another person who does methamphetamine, but I've been sober for X amount of time. And I tell them, even if you haven't been sober, you've been trying, right? So we express that. How have you been trying?
mm,
You know, because when you try, then you're able to do better. When we stay stuck, then we're stuck. Where do we break the ice? So even understanding that, so that's where I come in and advocate for them, and to let them know, hey, this is what they're doing, this is their goals, these are their plans. But you
mm,
have to allow people to be people. And I think that's a lot where people get stuck. Oh, well, they have this amount of time to get clean, or their kids are not returned, or they're, and I'm like, recovery is forever. Recovery is every day, all day. This is not 3 months I stay clean, get my kids back, and then I go back to what I know. Absolutely not. Recovery is forever. You know, that's a process. You know, it comes with their struggles. You know, it comes with good days. But even if you didn't have addiction, we still, as humans, we have good days, not so good days, feeling indifferent. Um, and we have to learn how to deal with those feelings and emotions as well.
mm, mm. And a lot of also when people ask me, and there are very important aspect of this is like you said, people have this judgment. So they say, okay, so XYZ is a smoker, and or for example, okay, so maybe use this substance or that substance. So then their conversation pretty much goes nowhere, because you're kind of blocking them at the
Mhm.
beginning, putting them a label and saying you are this and that's it.
Mhm.
That, like, if, for example, if you say to smoker, by the way, you're a smoker and you damage your lung and you're going to get cancer, and that's it, end of story.
Right.
So then what I if I'm a smoker, what I'm supposed to know more than
Mhm.
that? Was you giving me a sentence that, what about, it's not a help, you know
Right.
so same thing, if we try to help and see, okay, how many times you have tried, okay, no, don't worry, if you failed 6 times, try seventh one, who is counting, right?
That's right.
Keep trying the rest of your life, that's fine.
I think that's just life in itself. You
Yeah.
know, I always say, if I didn't have someone to believe in me and say, hey, I'm your biggest cheerleader, I wouldn't know where I'd be at. You know, and I'm grateful for those individuals that say, you know what, you got this, you can do this. You know, don't let anything or anyone stop you. And for instance, just to write my book, I wrote it 3 times before, and I probably would have wrote it another four. But it's because I was just like, oh, what's going to work for the audience. But what we have to learn is that what works for you may not work for me. And that's okay. That doesn't mean we can't be friends. That doesn't mean we can't be civil and we can't be empathetic or cordial. You know, it just means you have a different perspective than I do. And that's okay, because that's your opinion.
Hmm. And that is, so exactly right, that it's a partnership or team effort
Mm-hmm.
for rest of your, for being a friend, or, yeah, and that's fine. If you don't want to see me for therapy, that's fine, but you just say, come and say hi, and you don't have to see as a, therapist and patient or whatever, right? You
Right.
can just be civil, you can still
Mm-hmm.
be, and you don't have to show a lot of anger and say, this is not like this or this is like that. That's I think the other thing is, a lot of my client will say, by the way, I'm using this XYZ for so many years, nothing happened. And I say, well, you are right too, absolutely, you're right, nothing happened. But question is, what if things go wrong? Okay, then what will you do? And I say, if you ever read I don't want to disappoint, but if you ever read the autopsy reports on these people who have problem, okay, they, for many years, they never had problem.
Mm.
So then one time or two times they just go downhill,
Right.
and that's the when they cannot come back.
Right.
So, so if you read those, they are on that for many months. Okay. So this is important, is that because we don't have a control on, we do have a control of what we put in our mouth or what we make choices, but we don't have a control how the body processes every time,
Right.
and I hope it does process right. But best is always to avoid those and be not dependent. It could be anything. It could be even your iPhone or whatever smartphone,
Mhm.
and you can be on that all the time. But if you're dependent on that for so that it disturbs every aspect you have, then I think that's the line most people, with addiction, any kind of addiction, right?
Right. Right.
So it's not about certain medication. It's not about, it could be behavior even. It could be,
Hmm.
right. So those are where they all you have to do is just keep your limits. Keep your,
Right.
So I say, always the difference between medicine or any therapy is amount, or the,
Hmm.
so poison same thing become poison if the quantity is a lot and you don't have a control, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So same thing is, just keep idea where your limits are, and everybody's limits are different. Your limits
Hmm.
different than mine, so we all are genetically unique. I always say that, because, and then how we process thoughts, how we process or interact with each other could be different. I mean, it could be same sentence could have very different meaning for somebody, or
Hmm.
it could have very devastating meaning for somebody else, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, any final thoughts you have for my audience?
I just want everyone to be safe and to be happy and to be true to yourself. And happy holidays.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to our show. So, just remember, we are here for you all, and we are not going to leave you. We're not on work. Yeah, yeah. Of course, we enjoy the holidays, but Priscilla, me, and everybody who works in healthcare, or even others, they just are here for all of you, and so you can always reach out, and just you can just say hi, and we can still be really accommodating for all those needs for you. Okay, you take care. Happy holidays. Enjoy. Stay safe. Take care.